Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to you all. If you want to let me know in the chat who you are, where you're from. My name is Del. I'm the Professional Development Manager for Macmillan Education Asia. And I'd like to welcome you to our first ELTea Time Plus for 2024. We're waiting till August to do this, although we have had an ELTea time and some webinars before that, and we have more to come. Let us know where you are. As I said, I'm based in just outside Bangkok. Beatrix in Bali. Hi to all our Indonesian teachers or teachers in Indonesia. Vietnam in the house as well. Great stuff. Bangkok as well. Lovely day in Bangkok today. Beautiful blue skies, big fluffy white clouds, boiling hot, likely to be raining later on, I would imagine. So thank you all for attending. I'm really excited about today's session or today's chat because I'm going to be welcoming in a second an old friend of mine and of Macmillan Education's, Amir. Are you there, Amir?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Amir. Welcome to our session today.
Yeah, thank
As I said, we've known each other for quite a number of years now, going back to 2020. I think we agreed on, didn't we? Yeah, at
you.
VUS. I think we first met at VUS TESOL in Vietnam, and have since met at many other conferences and Macmillan days that we've run, and we always see you in the chat in these sessions and in our webinars. So I'm really happy to welcome you and have someone who's very prominent in ELT in our region of Asia, and has written articles which we're going to discuss in a minute. So do you want to just stop me from talking and introduce yourself a little bit, Amir, please? So
Thank you, Del. Thank you
yeah,
very much for having me, and I'm flattered. Thank you for all those kind words. Yeah, my name is Amir Esmaeili, and I'm from Iran. I've been working and living in Vietnam for the past 4 years and a half. Currently, I serve as the team leader for foreign teachers in a private language center called CB Centers in the south of Vietnam and in Mekong Delta region. Where I am tasked with in-house teacher training, observations, classroom observations, professional development of especially foreign teachers.
okay, cool. And how many teachers are you responsible for then in terms of the development? Do you have a lot down there?
The team of foreign teachers, currently we've got about 18 full-time foreign teachers and around 12 part-time foreign
Wow.
teachers. So
Okay.
total of around 30.
That's a lot. Yeah. And what do you
Yeah.
like most about your job?
Uh, it's challenging, I'm not gonna lie. And what I love about it is that when I see that I can be of assistance to teachers to help them have a better experience in their teaching career and in their classroom moments, when we have those developmental feedback sessions, and I see that I can give them some suggestions, we exchange ideas, and in the upcoming observations, I see that they uh, are delivering a better performance and their students like it
Cool.
and they enjoy that. It also gives me this vicarious pleasure to witness that.
Cool. That's really nice. Yeah. And you mentioned you've been in Vietnam for 4 years now. What do you like most about Vietnam? We have a lot of teachers in from Vietnam, so yeah, chance
Yeah.
to shout out.
Yeah. What I love most about Vietnam, especially my town, I live in a small town. I don't live in the major cities. I live in Bến Tre, which is located in the south of Vietnam, about 80, 90 kilometers from Saigon. And what I absolutely love about this town is that it is so quiet, peaceful, gives me all the tranquility I need to focus on my job. We've got the Mekong River just 10 minutes away from my room, and
Beautiful.
I try to go for a walk every now and then much as I can. So what I love here is the people. People are incredible. They're unimaginably hospitable, kind, and the environment where I live is totally away from all the hustle and bustle and commotion of major metropolitans here.
Yeah. And do you have a motorbike?
I do.
I think everybody in Vietnam has a motorbike,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You
Cool,
probably have to.
cool. All right. Well, lovely. Like I said, it's lovely to have you here. I just want to let everybody know why. Obviously, I mentioned me and Amir have known each other for quite a while, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and something that I thought would be really good for us to talk about, was your article that you wrote for Modern English Teacher. So I'm just gonna get rid of my background so that I can show the article. Hang on a second. Da, 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 da. And we will share this. So here's Amir's article that was called "The Best Lessons are caught, not taught." And this is what we're going to use today as our discussion points. And I'll be sharing the article with everybody at the end. So stick around and I'll put the article into the chat so you can read it yourself at your leisure. So the title, "The Best Lessons are caught, not taught." Can you just sort of summarize what you're on about with your article?
Yeah. As I wrote at the beginning of the article, the title is not mine. I borrowed that from a podcast show called Ed Milet Show. And I was listening to this episode when the host said that the best lessons in life are caught, not taught. And me, being an English teacher, immediately started to liken that to English classes. And it kind of hit home to me. And I thought to myself, there have been certainly moments in my own classes and the classes that I have observed where a lesson was taught when the subject matter was taught. But in retrospect, I don't think if it was really caught. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think if the students, as Thornbury put it, got a feel for that.
Yeah, that's
So yeah, that was how the title of the article
yeah.
inspired me to write something about it.
Do you think English teachers or teachers? I'm just trying to think because often when I listen to podcasts, read books, listen to songs, and when I was teaching full time, particularly with songs, I'd always be thinking about, oh, how could I use this song in the class? What grammar point is it teaching? And it kind of like drove me crazy for a bit because why can't I
Yeah,
just enjoy the song without actually relating it? I think lots of teachers do that. I mean, let us know in the
true.
chat if you do the same thing. Um,
Very relatable.
yeah, because you can just bring everything that you listen to back into your lessons. But sometimes we do need a bit of downtime as well, right? So
Yeah.
so I think when I was thinking about what you were getting at, I think you maybe you go into a lesson with say a specific grammar point, or you're going to teach a group of words, and as a teacher you have that is your aim to teach that lesson plan, or to teach that grammatical point, for example. um, do you think then I'm trying to think about how you would encourage teachers to catch lessons or students to catch lessons, or encourage teachers to do this rather than just teaching a grammar point, right?
Yeah.
Is this something that an experienced teacher is only able to do, or can inexperienced teachers have lessons that are caught as well? Can you elaborate on the skills needed to be able to have a
Yeah.
student catch a lesson?
True. Yeah. Thank you for asking that, Del. I think, as you mentioned, when I wrote this article, my main two areas were lexical items and grammatical structures when I was thinking of the lessons being caught. And I guess the main three areas for a lesson to be caught are not only the meaning, but also the use and appropriacy of the target language. And I can exemplify all of them for you so that you can understand what I mean. For example, two uh, very recent lessons that I observed from teachers. One of them was for very kindergarteners, very, very young learners, 4 or 5
Yeah.
year olds, and the other one was for IELTS intermediate students. In the former, the topic was family, and the teacher had got this set of flashcards and was showing the different pictures one by one, and the students shouting out, mother, mommy, daddy. Then there was this one where it was supposed to be uncle, and one student said brother, and the
Right.
teacher said, no, it's not brother, and it's uncle. And I was observing that lesson, and to me, again, I thought it could be a brother. These students have been taught the lesson, but I'm not sure if they have actually
Yeah.
taught the meaning of all of these things, especially in Vietnam, Del. You have been to Vietnam several times. I don't know if you have experienced that. People here have got an incredible intimacy towards each other. They call each other brother, sister,
Yeah.
auntie, uncle. Um, to anyone who is older or younger than them. Then that was one moment for that younger learner's classroom when meaning had been taught but not caught. And for the IELTS class, this is just a couple days ago, there was this exercise where students had to choose between two alternatives, and it was about grammar. One of them was the difference between as a result and therefore, and the other one was additionally and besides. The teacher asked the students to do that individually and then do it in pairs. And when the teacher asked for the answers, the students had some different voices, and the teacher just showed all of the answers on the board. For example, for as a the voices were different for as a result and therefore. Some said as a result, some said therefore, and the teacher only showed the answer and said, no, it is in fact as a result, not therefore. And the other one, he said it is additionally, not besides. But there was no explanation to follow up.
Yeah.
So again, to me, I was thinking, yeah, you taught this, but I'm 100% sure that the students didn't catch that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know where you're coming from now. That's very clear. Um, yeah, it's one thing to teach something, isn't it? We obviously need to check understanding. I think teachers are doing that, but there's also things that we can do, which I think you've mentioned. We'll get to in the article in a moment that allow students to catch the lesson. I was thinking, yeah, students shout out a brother, um, but how do you know that little pre-primary kindergarten student actually knows what a brother is anyway? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just she said brother, it's the uncle. The teacher said no, it's
yeah.
not an uncle. But how do you know she didn't mean uncle and she said brother? It's so
It's very
complex.
tricky. What I do in my own lessons, Dale, when I'm going to teach family to kindergarteners and kids of that age, is that I never ever use flashcards for
Right.
family lessons. What I do is that I have a cartoon-like family tree with only two slides. One of them, there are five family members. One of them is me with a silly face,
Yeah.
and the others are four cartoon characters. I have got a brother and a sister in that picture, and a mom and a dad. And this is for those classes that
Yeah.
have just started to learn family. And I try to show the relationships in this family tree. And if it's a stronger class, in the next slide, I have the exact same thing, another silly face to add some sense of humor. But they also, I have cousins, aunt, uncle, and grandparents.
Yeah.
So if I see that the students know all of those words very well, I move on to the next slide. And I think that is easier for
Yeah.
them to catch the meaning of brother and
It,
sister and those family
yeah.
relationships.
And I think that sort of touches on what we're going to talk about, which is context. You're kind of like having
Yeah,
an actual family tree. I think people are sort of they're kind of it does contextualize what the family is, I guess,
yeah,
and people can see diagrammatically those relationships that happen. So yeah, okay, let's talk about context because that's the one of the things that you one of the four considerations that you had
yeah.
when having students catch a lesson. So give me an idea. So one of them is contextualization. So what do you mean by that, and how can we do that when we're teaching vocab and grammar?
I think Dil, contextualization, as you just pointed out, one way of that is just by visual data. Like we show a picture to students and they look at that. It could be gestures, it could be stories. again, something that comes to mind. I was teaching up until a couple of weeks ago an international corporation based in Vietnam. And after some interviews and some paperwork, they asked me to have a 3-month course with them. And their main manager told me that there were 17 learners, adult learners, asked me to teach certain topics, and they gave me a syllabus, and they told me that there are 31 phrases which are absolutely crucial for the company because they appear in
Ah,
the pamphlet of the company, the positions, responsibilities of team leaders, team managers, and all of those things. So they wanted their um, staff to know them. Now, before I started teaching there, I was told that there was another teacher who had worked
oh,
with them for a couple of sessions. And
your voice is gone.
oh, can you hear me?
Is it just me? Can
No,
got you again now. That's it.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened. I didn't touch anything.
It might be my internet or something. I don't know. Keep going.
Yeah, so long story short, I figured that these students had a teacher before me, and that teacher had worked with them with these 31 phrases. And when I asked them about them, all of them knew those words. The words were like take ownership of,
Hmm.
communicate constructively, things like that. All of them knew those words in Vietnamese. They knew the translation. But when I asked them to use that in one example, only one student raised their hand. And that
Wow.
student was remarkably stronger than all of their peers.
Wow.
So I figured that again, those phrases had been probably taught, but not really caught. Then I was thinking, how can I help them? I went to AI and I asked AI to create 5 connected stories with each one at around 150 words about that company, the name of that company, and add a sense of humor in each one and use 5 of those phrases in each story at an A2 level. And then at the end of every lesson, I showed them only one story and I wanted them to read that for themselves and then discuss with their friends. At the end of the course there, it was so pleasing to see that they had learned without me teaching that actually. I just wanted them to read their story. And because the story was somehow humorous, they enjoyed reading. And it was about them and their company.
Yeah.
So it was also very meaningful to them. And they had now started to catch the meaning of those phrases and how they are actually used in the context. So that was another way that I tried
Brilliant.
to
Yeah.
exploit. Yeah,
Yeah. I think also, I mean, it's not mentioned as no, it isn't. Okay. Yeah, I think context and personalization are kind of similar in that respect. And if you can, make something that is personal, has a context, it's likely to be more memorable. And
true.
um, I mean, I would guarantee that. I often see, obviously, course books try to contextualize things. I was looking at one about actually with food, um, and putting food items again for primary students, and teaching countable, uncountable, some and any, many, much, that kind of thing. But what it was doing really was, and I think this is where it comes from experience. There was a context because there was a dialogue where people were looking at the food and saying we don't have any eggs, we need some, and this kind of like maybe making a shopping list, for example, which is a context. But I was thinking about how many students actually at that age actually make a shopping list. Probably none of them. That's mum and dad's job usually, or big sister, big brother's job, right? So while
True.
there is a context there, I think the context has to be personal to the learners. So I was thinking maybe like doing, and again, as a teacher, being experienced, is doing something using that dialogue, which is perfectly fine, but then maybe using that vocabulary to make a recipe out of the or make a meal out of the food that is in actually. Then there's a context. Then they have to think about whether those foods go together, and the understanding comes then of knowing that
Yeah,
you can't put I don't know, you need a
precisely.
potato to make mashed potato or something. I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah. but that's
What I
interesting.
do for that, for younger learners, because again, for younger learners, I think they would find it difficult for recipes because they don't cook. I just give them two different pictures of fridges, and I say, this is the fridge of your house, and this is the fridge of your house. Tell each other what you can find there.
Yeah,
Is there any, and I put some scaffolding for them so they can ask questions and then they can answer. What do you have in
yeah,
your fridge? There are three tomatoes.
yeah. And
Yeah,
kids usually know what's in the fridge, right?
yeah, always. Me too.
For sure. All right. The next thing you mentioned, which I think is a really probably we could spend 30 minutes on this next point, is translation and whether we should translate in the classroom, whether it's useful. I think you've said that, not to put words in your mouth, but you've put the words on the paper, but you said that you think translation could assist learners to catch a point remarkably more easily than scrambling to convey a message through English alone.
Yeah.
So tell me, I guess I don't speak Thai well enough, I think, to be able to use translation in the classroom. So what would I do then in that case?
Well, that is a disadvantage to you as a teacher, and you are teaching in a monolingual classroom. But if you can, my point there is not that you must use L1 in the classroom. My point is, if you can, it is probably wise to do that in certain situations, Dell. And those certain situations, for example, sometimes when you're going to teach an abstract noun that is not easily uh, visible to students. They cannot touch that or see that. So a quick translation can help the students immediately catch them. For example, let's say sympathy. If you're going to teach that, probably a Thai translation of that would immediately fall into place rather than contextualizing that. I'm not saying contextualization does not work and one is prioritized to another. All I'm trying to say is that L1 to me, and according to many, many other heavyweight scholars, should not be ruled out
Sure.
altogether. It must be used as one of the teaching tools and techniques. Sometimes, if you can do a comparison, analysis comparisons for grammar, when you know both grammatical points in two languages, you can just draw a comparison between them in two languages for students to completely catch. Okay, like the one that I wrote in my article, Scott Thornberry. He is a great teacher. He's a famous teacher, and in his own words, he taught all of this present perfect simple to his Egyptian students, and everybody appeared to have understood that, and they produced that in the controlled practice stage. And it is so gratifying to see that. But then, when it arrived at the production, they all again reverted back to
Yeah.
simple path. And he was like, ah. So I think if we have this advantage of knowing even something of the students' L1, if it is conducive to their comprehension, why not using
Okay.
that from time to time?
Yeah, I guess I completely agree with you. I think it needs to you need to have a balance. I think obviously too much of anything or too little of anything can be detrimental to the
Yeah,
learning. Um, I I would agree. Yeah, if I have the ability to translate, then I will. My Thai is not too bad, and I can translate some stuff, but I need the students just to help me with my usually with my pronunciation. The only thing I have, I've worked in organizations before where it's been forbidden. And the reason it's been forbidden is because parents want to see an English only environment. They seem to value that more than say somebody who actually knows that maybe a little bit of Vietnamese or Thai or Indonesian, whatever your context or teaching context is actually quite useful. It's also, I think, it takes the strain off the students a little bit as well, and it makes them sort of breathe a little bit. If they and again, I think collaboration, which is the next point, students can translate for each other at some point, but we just have to be careful. There are times when students might want to try before they get told. So they might want to try and understand or use something with before the words are translated, or the meaning is translated. And I just think as teachers we have to know. Otherwise,
Yeah. Yeah.
we could be really missing out on errors. And I think errors are brilliant and really a good way of showing learning. Um, Without them, we don't know what the students need practice on. So if we're always one step ahead and translating for them, we never get to see those mistakes. So I'm kind of like with you with the balance of that.
Yeah, true.
Both are equally useful. So collaboration, yeah, I thought when I was reading the article, I thought it was quite linked to the translation. There's some in there where students can help each other. Teachers are asking CCQs, concept check questions, and information check comprehension check questions, information check questions, putting them into pairs, and then discuss. Now, imagine they're discussing in their first language, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It could be first language or it could be in the second language. By CCQs, what I suggested there is that CCQs, again, I know they are a better way than asking a simple question, did you understand or do you understand?
yeah,
But again, at the same time, CCQs still have this danger of having a couple of students answering those questions, prefabricated questions, and some others just following them
yeah,
without actually having caught the point. So, what I had suggested is that even for CCQs, we need to think about them ahead of time, board them in the class, two, three questions, we put them on the board, and then we ask the students to work in pairs and groups to collaborate with one another to ask and answer those questions. We ask them to do that in English, but if we overhear them doing that in their mother tongue, that should not be a huge problem as long
right.
as it is helping them to comprehend what's happening.
Yeah, cool. All right. Um, I'm just looking at the time. It's gone so fast.
Uh,
Let's touch on this last point then, when which you mentioned. Another way to help learners to catch the lesson is localization. So,
yeah,
do you want to just elaborate on what you mean by localization?
yeah. Localization, I think, briefly put, is to link the subject matter to students' lives so that they see the relevance of that to their immediate environment, sometimes to teach or not to teach something. A classic example for my own classes here in Vietnam is that whenever I hear my students want to go to the shopping center, they almost never call it a shopping center and they call it supermarket. So what I did is that I took some pictures of famous shopping centers here and I showed them those pictures and I asked what it is. And everybody said supermarket. I said no. And then I showed them the pictures of supermarkets inside the shopping centers. Or the sandwich in Vietnam. Sometimes when I ask my students, what did you have for lunch? And they say, I had bread, which is the direct translation of Vietnamese banh mi.
Yeah,
But banh mi is not, when you say bread, it might break down the communication and create some misunderstanding to me. That, oh, poor you, how miserable that sounds.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not actually bread. They have had a sandwich. So I show them pictures of sandwiches and banh mi's in Vietnam, things like that. And for example, for kindergarten, in the flashcards that we have computer room, music room, and I don't teach them because they
yeah.
don't see that. Although it
Hmm.
is in their flashcard, because those 5-year-old kindergarteners in the village, they most likely will not see computer room for the next decade. So yeah, by localization, I mean we try to link the subject matter to the students' lives in one way or another, so that
Yeah.
they become more intrinsically motivated. They find it interesting and meaningful to their
Yeah,
lives.
and a bit more ownership of the language itself as well, right? You know, it's there. English is there. It's not. Doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to whoever's using it at that time, and I think that's very important to start at an early age. I was thinking about when I was making my notes about teaching culture. A lot of course books now, and we at Macmillan have beautiful sections on culture, and I'm very happy to report that what we try to do with these lessons is rather than just teach, say, like you know, in England they eat fish and chips, right? That's a cultural all my references I think have been about food today. I must be hungry. Anyway, but say in England they eat fish and chips, or you know, they drink tea. Um, but what we might do that, but what we also try and do is use the language and the vocabulary of the unit to then describe what actually happens in the country where the students are. So asking students to talk, use English to talk about their culture, to promote their culture, rather than in the past it was using English to learn about other. It was always input, 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 rather than an output of your own thoughts and feelings. And I think that's really a really good thing to do. And I like your localization terminology for that. I think that's great.
Yeah,
All
thank you.
right. Well, wow, it's 4:30 already. Would you like to add anything? Is there anything that we've missed that you'd like to say or like to share before we sign off?
No, I think uh, a while ago I was asked a question from a colleague that what is your main approach to teaching English? And I looked at him and I said, I don't know. It depends on the learners and the class and the level. I honestly don't know. And I don't have one approach. I think whatever we teachers do inside the classroom should be in the service of the comprehension of the lesson objective and the target language to our students. It could be gestures, it could be L1, it could be mimes, games, anything that we do. It does not really matter what approach, whether it is cognitive teaching, it is task-based, it is grammar translation. To me, it does not really matter as long as learning takes place inside the classroom for learners. So I guess finally, we teachers should not restrict ourselves to a set of frameworks or techniques that we are so accustomed to. We need to exploit of all the things. AI these days is the buzzword that we have in our repertoire to facilitate this learning journey for our students.
Yeah, I agree. We have been bit, and that comes with experience as well, like being a bit more eclectic in your approach to teaching, and all our students are different, right? And yeah, we have to consider that with our teaching methodologies as well. It's much more fun as well if you're trying out new ideas. And one of the beauties actually of teaching English is that often we do have a freedom of curriculum and
Yeah,
methodology where we are able to try out anything we like usually. Whereas maybe in government schools or um, in schools that are sort of have very strict curriculums and methodologies, we're a bit slower to try something new. We hopefully we have the opportunity to do that
yeah.
straight away. It
And I
certainly
think we
I have
should.
in my career anyway. Well, it's
True.
been fantastic to have you. I've really enjoyed our chat. It's gone so fast, and I'm really always happy to meet you whenever I see you.
Yeah,
It's
same
always
here.
it's always a good time. So, yeah, thank you so much for your time, Amir. I
Thank
really
you for
really
having me
appreciate
there.
it. Yeah, and I've put in the chat Amir's article, so please click on that and have a read of it, and apply it to your teaching because it's really good stuff. So, thank you so much, Amir. I will talk to you again soon. I'm sure. But yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks
Thank
everybody
you,
for
Dale.
participating. Take
Have
care.
a good one. Bye
Have
bye.
a great day. Bye.